All right, Kashrut. What is this on the left? Somebody threw it out. Cheeseburger. Great. Does anyone know what this is on the right? What is it? Shawarma. It's shawarma, exactly. Now, here's a question for you. The thing on the left, the cheeseburger, is that kosher? No, that's right. So in the rabbinic tradition, that's 100% correct. It's not kosher because you don't eat milk and meat together. Does anyone know why that is? Yeah, in the back. Why? Okay, so since the milk came from the cow or the animal, you can't eat it together. That's one answer. Yes. So it's in the Torah and God commands us. So what it says in the Torah is not to boil a kid in its mother's milk. So don't boil, a baby goat, for example, in its mother's milk.
That's what it means. I learned this in school last year. It just means goat, not person.
Exactly. It just applies to animals. We're not talking about people. That's exactly right. So it says that don't boil the kid in its mother's milk. And it says it 3 times. And in the rabbinic tradition, it says it 3 times to teach you different dietary lessons. And one of the lessons that the rabbinic tradition tells you is that you can't have milk and meat together. You can't have a cheeseburger. In the Karaite tradition, we don't follow the rabbinic interpretation. We actually can have milk and meat together. So we can have a cheeseburger. Now, there's a drawback in a second. I'll explain to you about what this drawback is. So we could have a cheeseburger, right? We could have chicken parmesan. We could have all this stuff. The problem is, in this case, the Karaites are applying the Bible as it says. Right? The Bible says don't boil a kid in its mother's milk. So the Karaites don't boil a kid in its mother's milk. So we can have milk and meat together. Now, the other night I was out to dinner with my wife and another gentleman, and he said, "This is amazing. I would be a Karaite if I could have milk and meat." I said, slow down. Because this thing on the right is shawarma. And I think shawarma is absolutely, absolutely amazingly good, and I've had it in the past. But the thing is, from a Karaite perspective, shawarma is actually not kosher. And the reason why is this. Does anyone know what that the white stuff that looks like on top of the shawarma is? Yeah. Someone said hummus. No, it's not hummus. Someone said cheese. No, it's not milk. It's not any dairy. It's not turkey. It's seasoning, and the seasoning is actually, what'd you say? Tahini. No, it's not tahini. So on the top there, it is. So tahini is something you would put with your falafel and your shawarma. That stuff is amazing. What it really is, it's actually fat. And I know fat sounds disgusting. Some people, I see some faces, but fat is actually what makes it taste unbelievably good. And so I'll be honest with you, shawarma is really, really tasty. I've had it before. But the truth is, the fat that they're using on the top of the shawarma from a Karaite perspective is actually not a kosher fat. So when I go to Israel, I can't have shawarma. Once I realized this, I was like, wow, that's a real fly in the ointment there. So what's funny is I was in Israel with a gentleman who adopted Karaite Judaism. He's actually not from a Karaite family originally, but he adopted the Karaite tradition. And I was about to order a shawarma. He said, "Shawn, there's a problem." I'm like, what? He said, "That right there is a forbidden fat on the top of the shawarma." And I didn't believe him at all. I said, "That's impossible. No way." So I didn't listen to him. I went and I ate the shawarma. And I came home and I started, and it was, by the way, the best shawarma I ever had in my life. And I came home and I started doing research and doing more research and doing research. Wow, the Karaites really do make a difference between the types of fat. And the shawarma for the Karaites is not permitted. So next time you guys go to Israel and you enjoy shawarma, think of your Karaite brethren who cannot have the shawarma.
So what is it exactly about the fat? What kind of fat is it that is putting on?
So this fat, I was trying to spare the children some of the details. This fat is actually from the tail of a sheep. Yeah. And it says it's specifically forbidden to eat. Now, don't worry. This fat is actually from the tail of a sheep, or it's from the fat-tailed sheep, and it's a forbidden fat in the Torah. By rabbinic tradition, you're allowed to eat it. Okay, so what's interesting about this, folks, what's interesting about this is that when the Karaites and Rabbinates married each other historically, their ketubah discussed some of the dietary differences. So sometimes it would say that when a Rabbinite man marries a Karaite woman, he wants to bring the shawarma, the fat that's used for shawarma, into the house. Sometimes it says that that the Rabbinite man will not eat meat slaughtered by a Rabbinite; he'll only eat meat slaughtered by a Karaite, is the implication. So what I think is fascinating is that Karaites and Rabbinites historically, even though they had different dietary traditions, they intermarried and they found a way to make it work. All right, so this is some cards I put together for my blog. And this woman here, I guess redhead or auburnish, her name is Kara the Karaite. And the person she's speaking to is Robbie the Rabbinate. And I have a bunch of cards that go along with them for the blog. And this is called the dining dilemma. And the reason it's called the dining dilemma is because every single place I go and I talk to people and tell them I'm a Karaite, they're like, well, how do you know you can't have milk and meat? It doesn't say that exactly in the Torah. I said, well, I can. But then I always tell them about the shawarma that I can't have. So in my dream world, there would be three types of restaurants. There would be a dairy restaurant for a rabbinic tradition who wants dairy, a meat restaurant for the rabbinic tradition who wants meat, and then there'd be a Karaite restaurant called Cheeseburgers in Paradise. Now, the truth is the religious Karaites and the religious Rabbinites may not eat at each other's restaurants because they have a different tradition as to what's kosher, as I just explained. But I would love for one day there to be so many Karaites that there's enough demand for a restaurant that follows the Karaite tradition.